Thank you for joining us on the Committee on Education. This is Friday, April 9th, our 3:00 p.m. agenda. Joining me is our committee vice chair, Senator Donna Arcado Kim, and online virtually we have birthday boy, Senator Drew Kanuha.
Of which we got no birthday cake that I can recall.
Yeah, of which he did not share his birthday
No,
cake.
he
So
did not.
It's on its way.
So with that, we will get started with, oops, I have to read this. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. The Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream event will include the 3:00 p.m. agenda for the Committee on Education. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Monday, April 12th at 3:00 p.m., and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. I'd like to take this time to remind our testifiers that due to time restrictions on our hearings, we will be limiting testimony to 1 minute per testifier per bill. For the people participating remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. When I call your name, staff will unmute you and your time will begin. After your minute is completed, staff will mute you so that we can move this hearing along in an orderly and efficient manner. Thank you. We'll start with House Concurrent Resolution 68, requesting the Department of Education to create a landscape management plan with goals to increase the tree canopies on public school grounds, document existing inventory and talent, and identify additional resources required to implement and sustain the plan. We have a bunch of written testimony, but no oral testimony, is that correct?
Yes.
Members, any questions on this resolution or any comments? Also joining us is Senator Favela. Thank you, Senator. If no questions, comments on item 1, we will move on to item 2, which is GM Governor's Message 796, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Early Learning Board gubernatorial nominee Mari Uehara for a term to expire 6/30/2023. And while Mari was not able to join us, we do have testimony in support from, beginning with Robert Peters, Chair of the Early Learning Board. Robert, please.
Thank you, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, and committee members. On behalf of the Early Learning Board, we support the continued term of Dr. Mari Uehara as a representative of the chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics on the Early Learning Board. Dr. Uehara brings a specialty in developmental behavior pediatrics and an understanding of children and families that we find particularly helpful in our conversations and deliberations as a governing board. Mari is an active participant on the board and one whose advice and counsel we will benefit from if she is confirmed. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Bob. Next to testify, Lauren Moriguchi, Director, Executive Office of Early Learning. Lauren, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, and members of the committee. EOEL supports the nomination of Dr. Uehara to the Early Learning Board as a representative of the Hawaii chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, also known as AAP. Dr. Uehara is a developmental behavioral pediatrician and has been with the AAP since 1997. She's been a staunch advocate for high-quality early care and education programs, including the need to develop and support a high-quality early childhood workforce. As a member of the AAP and with her extensive experience with working with young children with various needs, including infants and those in preschools and other group child care centers, Dr. Uehara would continue to be an asset as a member to the Early Learning Board. Thank you.
Thank you, members. And because Dr. what is her name? Mari Uehara is a practicing pediatrician. She was not able to be with us today, but it's not because she is not interested. So I just wanted to thank her for her service. And members, ask if you have any questions of either Bob Peters or Lauren Moriguchi. If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is GM 797, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Early Learning Board gubernatorial nominee Erin Henderson Lacerdo for a term to expire 6/30/2025. To testify in support, Robert Peters, please.
Thank you, Chair Kadoni. The Early Learning Board is in support of the confirmation of Erin Henderson Lacerdo. Although I do not know her personally, she brings a background to home visiting, professional development specialist to this conversation, and she was a unanimous choice of the Home Visiting Program Network to assume this particular seat on the board. As I reviewed some of the testimony in support of her, it convinced me even more that she will represent that sector particularly well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Also to testify, Lauren Moriguchi, please.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. EOEL supports the nomination of Erin Henderson Lacerdo to the Early Learning Board as a representative of the home visiting program providers. I understand that she's currently a statewide program director of the Hile Pico home visiting at Keiki-Oka'aina and has also worked in the early childhood field for 12 years. With her extensive experience administering home visiting programs, we believe Ms. Henderson Lacerdo will be an asset as a member to the Early Learning Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Also to testify, Department of Health.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Matthew Shim. I'm Chief of the Family Health Services Division. Our department stands on this testimony in support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Erin with us today? Erin, would you like to make an opening statement?
Hi, aloha. My name's Erin Henderson Lacerdo. I'm really looking forward and very honored to be considered as a representative of the home visiting service providers for the Early Learning Board of the Executive Office of Early Learning. Mahalo for your consideration. I'm very, very passionate about home visiting, and I truly believe that home visiting is a way to access services for families in our communities, especially communities that are hard to reach, and families who may have some challenges in accessing other early learning opportunities, that we can go right to them. And so I really do hope that I will be able to be continued as the nominee for the representative of home visiting.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you for your detailed responses to the questionnaire that we did send you. Can you tell me what goals do you have for the Executive Office on Early Learning?
One of the goals that I have is to really advocate for and to represent home visiting field in early childhood. It is often that when we think of early childhood, we tend to think of center-based programs, and so it is going to be my duty really to provide a larger lens to represent a little bit more home visiting program services delivery across the state. And I really do hope that we can increase the amount of home visiting services that are provided across the state, especially in communities that are hard to reach.
Thank you, Erin. And what resources do you believe the EOEL needs to accomplish its mission?
I think it's a little challenging for me to say what specific resources might be needed because I have not been, I don't have enough knowledge, I think, at this point in terms of the things that have been, the discussions that have been held regarding this. But I do believe that no matter what, we do have to have a field that encourages collaboration across sectors, that has sustainability of programs, and that we also are a comprehensive network of providers for children and families. And so I do believe that we will need to continue to work together. And the EOEL is an example of how we can have public and private partnerships in place that can collaborate to greater serve the community.
Thank you for that, Erin. Members, any questions of our nominee? If not, thank you very much, Erin.
Mahalo.
And moving on to the final agenda item, GM 794, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Board of Education gubernatorial nominee William Arakaki for a term to expire 6/30/2024. We have about 28 testimony in support and 3 in opposition, but none are oral. So this is all written testimony only, no one speaking today. Is Bill Arakaki? There he is. Thank you, Bill. Would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Senator Kidani and Vice Chair Kim and others on the committee, thank you for this opportunity to serve again to the many stakeholders in education. It is a great opportunity to give back again as a public servant, and being in the Department of Education for over 40 years, it's been a privilege to be with many great leaders and inspirational partners that have really made education a great opportunity for our students and families. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. And I was asked to read the testimony of Mayor Derek Kawakami. Honorable Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, and honorable members, I am honored to testify in strong support of William Arakaki's appointment to the State of Hawaii Board of Education. His institutional knowledge, collaborative skills, and willingness to serve others will strengthen the board's role in directing the education of our state's youth. Mr. Arakaki has been a lifelong mentor. As my high school football coach, he taught us about teamwork, integrity, dependability, and leadership. As our former Kauai Complex Area Superintendent, he brings a unique view and perspective on what is needed to strengthen our existing public school system, and as a lifelong educator, he understands the need to transition our system into the 21st century to give our students a competitive edge. Mr. Arakaki spent the first 10 years of his educational career as a teacher on Oahu. As a lifelong learner, he realized how much better life was on our wonderful island of Kauai and transitioned to teaching here. Shortly after that, Mr. Arakaki developed his credentials in administration and began his tenure in educational leadership. Administering at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, as well as his experience as a motivational and alternative learning teacher, provided the solid foundation for Mr. Arakaki's role as the Kauai Complex Area Superintendent. During this time, he directed our schools and community with his ability to consider all aspects of a situation. He listened to the suggestions and complaints of all parents and did his best to provide the best academic path for each child. Lately, our North Shore community has been hit with several natural disasters. Mr. Arakaki always worked with our emergency management team to make sure our keiki from Hanalei Elementary School were safely united with their parents during flood days. After our 2018 April floods, many of those same students were cut off from their school due to landslides. Mr. Arakaki thought out of the box, and a temporary satellite school in Wainiha served those students and even some from the middle and high school. Since his retirement, Mr. Arakaki has continued to serve our community, volunteering with food distribution during the pandemic and as a volunteer with our agency on elderly affairs. He is truly someone who cares about others. I ask this honorable committee to advise and consent to Mr. Arakaki's nomination and forward to the full Senate for consideration. Mahalo for the opportunity to present this testimony. Okay. Congratulations on being nominated, Bill, and thank you for responding to the questions that we forwarded over to you. Actually, now I'm looking for my questions. Sorry. How do you as a board member plan on upholding your constitutional mandate to formulate statewide educational policy?
Yes, first, Senator and everyone, I want to do the connections. As you may know, everyone has is involved in education. So students, parents, teachers, support staff, administrators, business and community partners, and all others that are impacted by the Board of Ed policies need to build the trust and relationships. So basically, to be able to hear what each segment is talking about, what their needs are, how we're going to get there, and how we're going to do it together is by building those relationships. To have an ear, to see, and to really understand what they're doing. How we'll do that basically is to go visit, to be at activities, to have focus groups, and there's many things that the department has been doing to be able to get input and hearing kind of things. So once I'm able to do that, then from there, I would need to really research and find out how we're doing as far as the system to really make those efforts in any kind of policies that would truly impact the whole state of Hawaii as far as education.
Thank you for that, Bill. How would you then, as a board member, the Board of Education, be able to gather the information necessary to determine whether our students are achieving academically and are college and career ready?
And as you may know, all of you, at the DOE website, hidoe.org, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of data that's out there. So basically, through the policy or the HRS that says that the DOE needs to provide that information. So how I would work at is look at what we have today, right now, to really understand if people out there, the ones that are impacted, many are educated, many may know what, all those data means, but there are others that are grassroots that need to really understand what is happening within the system. So, I've been, fortunately with Mr. Hamada and many others, worked with the Harvard graduate education, where in order to make change, there are many things we need to look at. So using that data really needs to help us. Context, like for example, the pandemic on, with COVID-19, that is something that we cannot control. It's something happened. So, with the context similar to education and the policies we need to make, what are some of the things that are impacting that? Things that we can really affect and make change would be culture, competencies, and conditions. So as we look at what people are saying was happening out there, we can look at the culture, what are people feeling and saying, and how do we make it so that we can really attune to what is needed to be done. Competencies comes with training, staff development, professional development, communication that goes out there. And conditions, of course, would be determining policies. If there's funding, different kind of other resources that need to be considered, the conditions to change so that we can make the policy work and happen for the system is something that we need to consider. So those are, some of the experiences that maybe would be able to assist me in making that important supports to the people that and things that need to be done within education.
Thank you for that, Bill. As you know, we are searching for a new superintendent that would hopefully be able to start come August 1st. What qualities and traits do you believe the next superintendent needs for our keiki to grow and thrive in our educational system?
That is truly to search, and the qualifications. Many people out there have many ideas of what that should be. Again, when I speak about trust and relationship, being able to connect with people, being able to communicate with the many factions and constituents within the state of Hawaii. Most definitely, we need to have a superintendent that truly has the heart and understands what people need and what education is all about. And definitely a person that understands instructional teaching, research, and data regarding what is working out there, and also the ability to collaborate and work with many others. The examples that, for me on Hawaii, coming from Oahu, and this is, we have these examples on Oahu and Big Island and Maui and Hawaii, and I've been very fortunate with the team we have here, where we collaborate, with Senate President Kochi, the 4 representatives, the mayor, the county council, the businesses, and so on, and the parents and many others, where we're able to really work together and be a team and be united. We may have disagreement. There will be times in which, we may not agree, but we need to really get to a point on how we need to get to our goals and how we're going to get there together for the benefit of our students. So a superintendent, especially for the state of Hawaii, is the toughest job, and to be able to really master and collaborate, especially for Hawaii. And all of you know, coming from Hawaii, we're a melting pot of many nationalities and races. So, with the whole theme of Ha, sense of belonging, there's 5 areas in there, and I can't really remember what it is. How do we make sure that, we really represent what's happening in the state of Hawaii, the aloha, and what goes on. So to have someone that may come from a different state or elsewhere, or even from here, these are things that within our community and our whole state of Hawaii, there are many values that we need to continue and be cognizant of as we make decisions that are really, really important for everyone that are here in the state.
Thank you for that, Bill. And I want to say, the communication piece is so critical, I think. And with your background and knowing principals and other CASs, et cetera, and I hope that should you be confirmed, that you will, reach out and touch bases with the Department of Education community, and when you have issues that you would like more input on, and not just wait for the meetings to see who comes out to testify, because I think that's one of the things that our current board could be much better at. So thank you.
Yeah.
Members, are there any questions of our nominee?
Yeah, I have a question.
Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Akaki. Appreciate your willingness to serve. I have to be honest with you, I'm a little bit troubled by the testimonies received in opposition to your nomination, and I've been reviewing them. You start off in your questions to say that I intend to build connections with students, parents, teachers, and supportive staff, and so forth, building trust and relationships. But when I'm reading these testimonies, it doesn't seem like you had that relationship or have that relationship and listening. So can you address that?
Within my position as a complex service superintendent, and I'm not too sure what the testimony is referring to as far as me not being able to communicate or to listen. I'm sure there are different decisions or certain decisions that may have not been liked by others that may not have agreed with what my decision were. But for me, I really try to hear from different sides, and at a certain point, there really is the need to make a decision regarding that. So maybe that's the case. If there was a situation, I'm not sure, who disagrees with me. I can't remember or what that testimony is about, and they may not be happy about it. But I truly try to work with everyone to be able to make the best decision I can within my position.
Okay, I know that a couple of them was about the music room, and I can see where that would be in disagreement, but there are others that said, under his leadership as CAS on Kauai about a decade until 2019, we on Kauai experienced dysfunctional principals, poor morale among DOE teachers and staff, and general stagnation. I acknowledge Mr. Akaki has years of experience as DOE administrator, is a kind man, but I do not see it in his skill set to run such a large organization such as the DOE. And then there's another one from a teacher who talked about a situation of you putting in a Mr. Nathan Iwohi, returned to Kapa'a because the staff received letters. I mean, it's a poor decision by Mr. Arakaki. It smacked of cronyism, clearly not good for education decisions. And then another one from, I guess this person is a teacher. When I was a teacher at Kapa'a Middle School, he had a chaotic and ineffective management style that left our school a free-for-all for disciplinary problems and made doing my job as a teacher very difficult. Another one about the daughter being bullied and assaulted while on campus at Kapa'a High School during her 9th grade. At no time did Mr. Arakaki offer me any solutions for our situation. He was disengaged and indifferent to my concerns, which was surprising and disappointing to me. Never once did he address the issue of my daughter being bullied or assaulted. Another one, our concerns rise from experience of Mr. Arakaki's lack of solution-generating conflict resolution. In particular, he did not address or resolve the poor school climate at Waimea Cannon Middle School after being approached by staff and parents. Cannon Middle School staff morale remains low. Student education experiences are less than optimal. Parents' dissatisfaction remains high. There's another one. When issues and mismanagement occurred in the Kauai complex area, Mr. Akaki avoided concerns. Complaints were unaddressed. Concerns were deflected. So how do you address some of those? It's not just the decisions you made. It seems like an overall concern by teachers and parents.
Well, let me make a statement as far as employees. You know, as a complex area superintendent, and especially with administrators, you know, and again, a lot of that information is confidential. So as far as what my decisions are made is on what is the best interest for the person that is in that position, and also what is for the best interest of the students and families that are impacted by that school. So again, you know, there are many or some that, you know, at a particular school may not have agreed with that administrator that was there and wanted that person not to be there. And again, for me, Kauai being so small, you know, how do I make sure that it's nothing against the person's ability and so on, maybe it's a leadership style and so on. It's not about, you know, defamation of character or anything like that. So for me, you know, for making sure that the person is able to really support the school and do what needs to be done, especially when COVID came in, you know, that ability to be able to run the school at that time, and, you know, those kind of things. So basically, you know, my decision that many may not have agreed regarding a certain school, we really worked at it. And even with Kapa'a Middle and Kapa'a Waimea Canyon School was mentioned, and even with Waimea Canyon School, we did have public meetings and met with HSTA union reps and others. The same thing with Kapa'a Middle School, to be really, you know, get the information out and to really try to resolve the issue and really place people as needed. So, you know, my decisions are made, and you know, I stand by it, you know, as far as what needs to be done. Now, as far as bullying and, you know, with students that are, you know, in Chapter 19, if something happens to them, you know, I am an avid supporter of not having bullying, you know, part of the residence committee on Kauai to really address that matter. Bully-free Kauai has been something we've been doing for the past over 6 years. So, you know, as a young administrator, you know, that may have happened as far as, you know, people may have a perception, but as going into the system and trying to really resolve it to the grassroots of what is causing that, it may be through social media and really trying to connect with the parents. We, you know, as far as what we tried to do this past 6 years was to really try and improve that. So, you know, we continue to have those issues and things, and my goal has always been to try and make sure that we can avoid what had happened earlier, where people may have been impacted or have been bullied, and, you know, early in the years, and to really prevent that and make it better for everyone.
Okay. I certainly understand that not everybody's going to agree with you, and we experience that all the time. I think I'm looking at it more on a general situation, because you do talk about, you know, communication, you talk about connecting, you talk about listening, and it just seems that in the recurring theme in a lot of these testimonies that we receive, that they didn't feel that they had that kind of communication with you, that you were listening, and even if they didn't agree, that, you know, you didn't provide alternatives or suggestions, that the morale was low. So it's not necessarily just specific decisions, but just an overall, I guess, attitude and overall willingness. So if that's the case just on Kauai and some of these schools, I mean, on a larger scale, on the Board of Education, those kinds of concerns are going to be even greater. So how are you going to deal with those?
Well, you know, I just have to prove myself as far as being, you know, what I say as far as trying to listen, being able to communicate and connect with others. You would have to, you know, by my actions, and if it continues to be something that becomes a problem, then, you know, and there is complaints regarding that, regarding my decisions and, you know, how I may not be communicating to others or connecting to others, and then, you know, is something that's, you know, that is there, then I need to, you know, and for me, I want to improve upon those things. I've been working on those things, and you know, we need to see, you know, what goes on when we do get into a situation when we go out there.
Okay, let me ask you a hypothetical situation. It's something that actually happened, but a report or reports were asked of the Board of Ed and or the superintendent, and the Board of Education did not, and the chair did not go after getting these reports. And those reports, I believe, Senator Kidani, if you can refresh my memory, was like a year old or something. I forgot what it was. But the board made no effort to get them to respond and get them to respond timely. So if you're on the board and that happened, what would you do as a board member if the chair was not requiring it, and you know, these reports were late and were never turned in?
Yes, so, you know, again, if the information reports can be, is public information that can be provided, you know, and we can get response to it, I would work with the chair and whoever I need to on the board to ensure that even though it's late, that we get some kind of response and that report given to the necessary people that were asking for it. That's interesting because, you know, as a CAS and even as principals, we do have letters that go to the board regarding there's a report or a complaint that we need to fill out. And sometimes it takes really quick to be able to answer, sometimes it doesn't. But the main thing is to make sure that we respond to it as best as we can and as quickly as we can. So my response to that is, if, you know, as a board member, if that hasn't been completed, you know, how would I be able to get that information and provide it to the chair and help support so that can close that case or get some kind of resolution to it.
So if the superintendent did not turn in the report, and the report is months late, and we have a board meeting, what would you do? What would you do to get that report? Because we complained to the board and nothing was done. They kept asking for it and they kept letting it go. Would you put on any kind of sanctions? Would you put any kind of disciplinary action? That's what I'm looking for. What would you do?
Well, again, and again, I'm not sure what the extent of the board members as far as disciplinary action that can be done, because I know in selection and there's an evaluation process that the board does. So during the evaluation process, if the accountability is not happening, then at that point, you know, are we, I think it's about renewing the superintendent's contract, whether to do that or not due to something that is really vital in what needs to be done as the superintendent. as a board member, if there is a serious case enough to recommend non-renewal, that was something that needs to be done. As far as other sanctions, I don't know what that would be, but just by looking at, when I see board meetings and things, as a former DOE member, is about the renewal or extension of the contract for the superintendent.
Okay, but sometimes the renewal of the superintendent contract is years away. And so here we have a report that is requested, needed in order to affect programs, let's say, for example, and it's not being, the superintendent is not complying with what was requested. And so will you be one of those that will speak up, even though the chair, you might have to go against the chair, or will you be a voice to make sure that these things get done?
Yeah, being the representative ear for what's out there, I will put in reminders to whoever I need to that, the super has not been completed, we need to get it done and so on. But I would need to look further into as far as what the stipulations, how far can we push the issue regarding that. But, definitely at the meetings, if it's not completed, as a reminder, I call it reminders, I don't know for a better word, as far as this is coming up, we need to make sure it's late or so on, so that we can move forward with that.
Okay, what happens if it's like, after 5 reminders and it still doesn't get there, then what?
Well, then after 5 reminders, I'm not sure if we as the board can make stipulations, okay, you're gonna get some, I don't know what the penalties will be, but if that is something that the board is able to do, then that is something we need to look into.
Okay, thank you.
I think when Senator Kim asked me that question, not one specific report came to mind because there has been several, and the last one I think was the Finance and Infrastructure Committee asking for budgetary information on the funding that was coming from the federal government as to how it was going to be used, et cetera, and that information did not come down. And then there's the 2019 Promise Plan that still hasn't been finalized, et cetera. So I think what Senator Kim is alluding to is that there has not been probably enough sanctions on the superintendent, but what it comes down to basically is evaluation of her performance. And so in this case, the superintendent has, said she's not going to ask for another term, but there were some, I guess, some of the board members that, feel that she did not perform well, and this is the situation that we're in looking for a new superintendent. So thank you for those questions, Senator. And unfortunately, there is no process to remove governor's appointment or governor's nominee once we have them in until their term is up, basically. And I don't know if that's, something that we have ever discussed, but I appreciate your candidness, Bill. And like I said, there were 28 letters and testimony in support, and there were 3 in opposition, but I believe that there were also some emails that were sent that were in opposition, and they seem to have been related to certain times of your tenure as a principal too. But members, any further questions? If not, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, members, I'm ready for decision-making on the 4 items on the agenda. Are there any questions before we move forward? For HCR 6.8, recommendation of the chair is to, where's my sheet? Is to, I don't have a sheet. Okay, to pass as is. Were there tech amendments? No. Okay, recommendation of the chair for HCR 6.8 is to pass as is. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on HCR 6.8. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz. excuse Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela. Senator Favela. Okay, Madam Chair, 4 members present, voting affirmative. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. For Governor's Message 796 for gubernatorial nominee Mari Uehara for the Early Learning Board for a term to expire 6/30/2023. Recommendation is to advise and consent on this nominee. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye. On Governor's Message 796, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz, still not here. Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
4 ayes. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And for Governor's Message 797, also for nominee to be confirmed for the Early Learning Board, nominee Aaron Henderson Lacerdo. Recommendation of the chair is to advise and consent. Chair votes aye.
Members present, any member voting with reservations? Any members voting in the negative? Hearing none, 4 members present. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And for the final agenda item, Governor's Message 794, submitting for consideration confirmation to the Board of Education, gubernatorial nominee William Arakaki for a term to expire 6/30/2024. Recommendation of the chair is to advise and consent. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Governor's Message 794. Madam Chair, I will be voting with reservations. I will give him the benefit of the doubt, but I still had some concerns based on his answers. Any other member voting with reservations? Any other member voting with negative? If not, hearing none, 4 members present. You're present, voting in the affirmative. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. That concludes this hearing.